Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Family by Design. Here, Liz and I talk about building a value system. This is an incredibly important topic. You're going to want to listen to this, probably going to want to listen to this again and really get the things that the Lord has shown us that have really helped us in our marriage and in our family to where you can have a home that actually goes in the direction that you want it to go. So as you listen to this, take some notes, be encouraged, be strengthened, and I believe it's really going to help you.
So I'm excited about this episode because we're going to talk about, values, defining a value system, creating a value system, merging value systems, which sounds to me like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, but is a little bit more tedious than I think we like to think about it, because you're, again, taking what two people think about something,
Yes.
and then you're trying to make it be one thing.
And so we're actually titling this Building Our Values.
Right.
Because it can't just, when you come into a marriage, it can't just be, well, we're going to do what you want or we're going to do what I want. But it's you. Whenever I marry people, I talk about I literally have this in my message. I say there's no longer this person and no longer this person, but it's this person and this person together as one. And that's true. So when two people, and we talked about this in the last episode, when two whole people become one, then they start to build a life together.
Right.
It's actually marriage. Marriage is the death of two wills, and it's the birthing of a brand new one.
Yeah, that's a good
It's really
picture.
the death of two lives, in a sense.
Right.
So just like when we come into Christ, the old man dies and is buried and gone, and we have a new life in him. When you get married, it's kind of similar.
Right.
Like, and people will be like, they always say about the guys, they're like, you never have anything you want again. She's going to rule the roost and all this stuff. And it's like, no, it's that way for both of them. It's that way for the man and for the woman. Their wills are now dead, and now they build a new life together. And so this is where you have to come in and build a value system, because a value system, and these are things that marriages should be more, it should be taught up front that you have to learn how to build a value system.
That's good.
Don't just talk about what's important to you. Talk about what you're going to live by, how you're going to do things, from communication to finances to family, to children, to schooling, to education, to just, the whole gamut. Talk about those things, why certain things are important, and then you begin to mesh what's important to each person, even before marriage, but definitely in marriage, and begin to build a value system.
So in order to even do this, you have to be able to communicate with one another.
We talk about this a lot, don't we?
Being defensive or offensive, like about wanting I think, to me, to create a level playing field with this is like, we're going to come in to understand each other and figure out what we want together. Yeah. So kind of technically, like, these are some things that should be talked about before, because what if, here's the thing, that you said, I think earlier, was that it's not about what you want or what I want, it's about what we want together. And sometimes, and I could say this for me, like, whatever, I don't care. Whatever you want, that's fine. Well, if you just go with that and you never have any say in it, then resentment can be built in that place because you allowed something to be a precedent to be set, a why to be stated, what we're going to do without actually having any input in it. And then when it comes for it to be instituted, or it is instituted, and you don't like it because you didn't really have any say in it, well, your say was like whatever you want, then there breeds room for resentment. So this is something, I say all that to say, like, everybody should have something that they're going to say about whatever values you want in your house, in your home.
This is why no one should stay silent about anything.
Correct.
But learn to come together and begin. So communication is the bedrock for everything in a marriage.
Yeah.
Relationship with the Lord. our communication with him, our relationship with him, but then relationship with each other. So you
Right.
come together, and once you've learned how to do that, then you can begin to build a value system together. But it has to be built together. And here's the reason why is that men are supposed to lead the home, but that doesn't mean that they're above their wife.
Right.
Man and woman are different, obviously, but they are equal.
Yeah.
And so
What did you just say?
they're different, but they're equal. And so I am not more important in this marriage than you, and you are not more important in this marriage than me.
Agreed.
So we are equal. So everything we do should be decided together, and we build ideas. We go on vacations. We, whatever we do, we have input together in these things. And I even threw out something like vacations because, I mean, we've heard of people like, they just decide, the one just decides, well, I want to go here, I want to do this. And the other person has no buy-in, either because the one is being domineering and controlling, or because the other one just doesn't care. And it's like, you need to care about things that are important,
Right.
whether it's vacation or like in this episode, we're talking about just building a value system.
So good question asked, what do you care about? What's important to you?
In terms of values.
Yeah.
Yeah, not vacation at the moment.
Right,
but
right. In terms of values,
yeah.
what's important to you? Why is it important to you? Or defining what is important, but then going deeper to why.
And I think even before you just threw, that is the right question, but tied to what? Because you need to, you should have some basic things, that you come together. Like you should not, I do not believe that a Catholic and a Baptist should be married. You know what I'm saying? I'm neither one of those, so who am I to speak? But, you should have should be some cohesiveness there. You shouldn't have a Republican and a Democrat get married. My gosh, talk about two polar opposite worlds. There's a lot of these things that are just no, that's not going to work. So you should have some basis there to where you're yoked up equally, right? You come together and now you begin to build a value system. So for you and I, we're both believers.
Right.
We both were, raised in Christian homes. And so we had, we went to youth group together. We had a lot of things that were similar. But when it came to XYZ, we didn't even know to talk about some of these things. And so when you talk about what's important to you, you have to define what areas. So I think
Correct.
there could be a list of areas. There is a list of areas of things that are important to talk about. Let's talk about not as much about political things or whatever, or even religious things. But if you don't have some cohesiveness on that, you're going to fight on those fronts for a long time.
Right.
Unnecessarily. So you should not marry somebody who's just so polar opposite than you on those things. But when, you come together and you say, okay, well, we want our children to be raised correctly. Do we spank them? Do we not spank them? You have to build a value system around that.
Mm-hmm.
Do we send them to school? Do we send them to private school? Do we homeschool them? You have to build a value system around that. What's important to you? What's important to me? Let's talk about it. Begin to build what's important. What about money? How do we view money? How do we handle money? You build a value system around those things, and then you work the system. Almost every institution dies because systems are not built. When proper systems aren't, you go to this is totally carnal, but you go to a restaurant, and it's a terrible restaurant. Either the food's bad or the service is bad or both or whatever. And you realize that there's not a good system for making food. That's why it tastes bad. The service is bad. There's not a good system built in place by possibly not having good management. So the thing dies. Building a value system keeps people running on the same track to where you can attain the goal that you want. So you might have a value system of okay, in our home, how do we want it to feel? Well, we want to have peace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, what does it look like to have peace? Well, to me, peace means no TV. Well, to me, peace means sitting in and relaxing and watching TV. So you start working through these
really
things,
good. Yeah.
but you have to come to a thing to where, not that there's not some room for adjustment, but you have to come together and talk about these things and begin to build an important value system. Because watching TV or not watching TV, probably not the most important thing, but it could be to some people. But having peace in your home, that would be an important thing. How you treat your neighbors could be really important or whatever. So I think you have to go and you have to hit big things. And sometimes things come up, just they will as you get married. You go, well, I never thought about how you felt about, kids riding bicycles around, the block. Like, because maybe one person had a traumatic experience riding their bicycle around the block when they were younger, where the other person had a great experience riding their bike around. And that might not be a thing where you build a whole value system, but you at least talk through that scenario when you're dealing with that with your kids when they're at that age or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So you have to talk through all of these things, but, you have to build a value system to determine how you're going to navigate, because a value system actually doesn't answer every question, but it determines how you're going to go about answering the questions.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a value system is it's rules of engagement.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Yeah, a value system basically says this is how we're going to approach this.
It's pointing us back to like identity, who we are as a married couple, who we are as a family. Because when we can go back to pointing ourselves to who we are, it retethers us back to like running. And it's not no, we can't do this, or it's not negative. It's actually very positive. Like, oh, we're not doing that because that's not who we are. Like you have kids fighting and bickering and arguing and whatever, and you remind them that's not who you are, because we honor and love each other. That's what we value.
Yeah.
And you're not valuing them right now. Rules
of engagement.
And so you're correcting them in such a honoring way that you're just pulling them back to who they are. Again, even like in your marriage, like, well, I want to go do this and we want to spend money on this and what, blah, blah, blah. And you can go back to like, no, that's not who we are.
It's not so I'm going to throw this out here.
Okay.
Because it's interesting you're going back to identity. So to me, values are built from identity.
Right.
Values actually determine culture.
Right.
And so it's all about having the culture of the home be what it's supposed to be, of your marriage, of your home, be what it's supposed to be. And your values are going to reflect what you identify with.
Right.
So you do have to have a basis in your identity. But if two people know who they are and that God loves them and that, they have a relationship with the Lord, whatever, those two people know that, then they begin to build values off of that, right? So it's easy for us to not watch, rated R movies because we have a value system of having things be holy and true in our house. So it does stem from identity, but the value system is something you go back to. And I don't think you always think about this is who we are, but sometimes just in the moment you say, this is how we go about doing this.
Right.
Because if you don't go there, then you're going to mess up the culture. You're going to have culture by default and not by design.
Right.
This is all about what you're experiencing. Well, not only in the home, but also in the midst of conflict.
Right.
Specifically in the midst of, not necessarily conflict like in a bad way, but like, how are we going to approach this?
Right.
Well, one thing for sure is we have a value system of good communication. So we're going to talk this out and not yell at each other. And sometimes people need to build value systems based off of what they need and not what they like.
That's good.
Because for example, if you have two people that they both just they love peace and they just love things being peaceful, that might not be something they have to work so much at. But if they they don't have a value, one of them, like, they know, like, you need to, like, how you talk to, like, not being critical maybe could be a thing of neighbors. I don't know. I'm just pulling something out of the thin air here. But like, if that's something like, we need to talk better about our neighbors. Mm-hmm. And that's a little bit more difficult. Well, we need to do that. So let's build a value system to make sure that the need in this area gets met because we're being intentional with it.
Right.
So a lot of times values need to be built off of what you need to have and not just what you like. Because sometimes things that you like, they're going to come naturally anyways. In our church, we build a value system we have these core values, and one of them, for example, is love. Now, I love love. I like love, however you want to say it. But I built a value system because I know the nature of church and I know the nature of people is to not walk in love. So we've said we're going to walk in love intentionally so that we see love prevalent in our church. The thing that people say the most, I just feel so loved here. I just feel like people really love me. I just sense the love of God here. It's because we've been intentional about it. So what you need oftentimes is what can determine what values you build, what you talk about, what you work towards, what you want to see. You can do the same thing financially. This is something that I think is really important. You should have a value system around money, how you view money, how you handle money. What level of giving you're at with it. Like all that speaks to a value system. And that's really important because you come from like our background. We didn't have much instruction on money, either one of us. And so, but then you have some people get married and one will be like, have like a degree in accounting and the other one, never had a dime to their name. They don't know anything about money. And if you're not careful, if you don't have a value system, you'll have the one who knows how to handle money really good will have all the say so, and the other one will have nothing. And they won't grow together in that. A value system says we're going to go this direction, but we're also going to talk about this. We're going to work through it. We're going to build this idea in our home. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good and it's so important. And so this is like something that, we should sit down and do together as, a married couple and figure it out. Yeah. Even if it feels difficult, even if it's hard, maybe you work on it like separately, writing down some things that are important to you, some things that you know that you need to see, but you're not seeing. And then have an intentional time set aside where you say, like, we're going to talk through this and we're going to start building, these values in our homes, but like maybe even like practically, like I always like to help people like practically, like how do you implement this into your home? Yeah. Like how, like you say, you could do all the work of like, we've defined them. This is what we want to see that, but then what if you don't now work the thing that it is? Like how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of it comes to talking it out. We go on walks. Mm-hmm. We go on a lot of walks, as many walks as we can in a week. And we talk through anything and everything, but a lot of we talk about, the problems we're facing with handling situations, whether it be like in ministry or it be in our home, we sit and we talk through those things. Right. And so what's happened with us is that the value system in our church really came from us. So it's really the same in our home. Right. And so, which is fun. That's what happens when you pastor. You end up having that overlap like that. But when there's things that are dishonoring, feel dishonoring, we'll talk through those things because we have a value of honor.
Right. But like even like so you're just saying like practically like implementing them is just like
you have, this goes back to, and I think on probably every marriage should have some kind of a value of communication. Right. It's because it's set with us that we're going to communicate. And in some ways that's been easier for me, and in some ways it's been easier for you. So I'm good at articulating things. Like I'll talk through, like, let's talk through that. But I actually may not want to really open myself up as much as you've been willing to open yourself up. But sometimes I'm like, what are you talking about here? So we've both had to learn to grow in those areas, but we have a baseline of like, we're going to talk about this. Mm-hmm. We're not going to leave it undone. So having a value of communication lets you talk about all of the other values, all of the other things, all of the other problems, working through those things. But you have to have, I think the easiest way, like you could take values, and I think some people need to do this, take them, write them down, put them up on the wall and say, this is how we're going to go about navigating this house. Both parents, if you're a married couple, both parents come to agreement and say, this is how we're going to do this. Someone comes in and they get mad about something. You go, wait a second. We've got a value system of peace here. If you would like to be in this home, you're going to have to be in peace. Once you walk outside, get yourself together and then come back in, because we allow peace only in this home. And everybody just agrees to that. So some people might need to actually practically write them down, put them up, and be able to look at them. But you have to talk through them. You have to make them go deep into your home with your children. You
So
know,
what if,
I was going to say earlier, honor is one. When people are dishonoring, we'll stop and go. Instead of bringing correction, we'll say, that seems a bit dishonoring. Does that match our value? Because we have a value in our home of honor. Feels a bit dishonoring. Do you agree with that? Well, yeah, I guess it was. Okay, well, we need to adjust that.
right. So I know we probably need to wrap it up here, but like, what if you have a child or children, like this is new, you're instituting these things. You've been able to just run chaotic. You actually have your children controlling you and the environment.
Yeah.
They're dictating it because of their attitudes or whatever.
That's a great question.
And you're saying, no, we've decided that we're going to be intentional about our culture. And so like, how do you get them to have like this willing heart to submit to what it is that you're wanting to institute without creating more chaos?
Right. This is difficult. It can be difficult to implement if you've got kids that are out of control, because then you can get into some disciplinary issues. How you're leading your children? Are you leading them biblically? Do you have a punishment culture? And how do you discipline your kids? Like there's all those things that can tie into it. Versus two adults that are like, hey, we want to make this thing work. It feels a little bit different, but it has to start with the leadership of the home, whether it's a single parent or it's a married couple. It has to start there. So you take this and then you basically, I'll say this has worked in the church, and there's plenty of rebellious people in the church that have conformed to what we know needs to happen. So it will work in your home. And so you just have to set it and then work it. And so if you can, again, you can set them based off of need. If you can sense that there's a lot of bickering and fighting in your home, what's the opposite of that? Probably love, peace, joy. So whatever speaks to you, you say, okay, we are going to have a value of walking in love. You can phrase it however you want. We're going to have a value of walking in love, and just start with one. Take one at a time.
I think that's good.
Yes. Sit everybody down and say, guys. And you don't have to be apologetic, but you can start in a position of humility and say, guys, I'm learning how to lead better, or we're learning how to lead better. Yeah, and we've noticed that there's just a lot of bickering. Would you guys agree with that? It's kind of a lot of fighting. And you'll probably get, yeah, and it's all him, Right. Like we've heard that stuff. And you go, okay, but here's what we're going to do. We want to honor the Lord. We want to honor this home and just love each other. So we're going to make a value. And we're going to hang this up on the wall here, and we're calling it walking in love. And this is what it means, that every time when you want to get mad at someone else and say something that you shouldn't say, you remember that in this house, we walk in love. And so you institute it, you talk about it, and then you work it. Don't expect them to walk in love the first time one of them throws something and hits the other one. So you have to take them back and say, hey, you just threw that. Does that represent the value? You care about this home, do you? Yeah. Okay, does that represent the value of this home of walking in love? Well, no. Okay, well, I think you probably need to make an adjustment. It's a good way. It's a wisdomous way of approaching this.
Yeah, and then asking them, like, how do you think you can adjust? And I think it's sometimes, too, like, you have to give people permission to even say, like, this is hard, and how come it's hard?
Yeah.
And and anytime you're going to do something new, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes intentionality, and it takes work. So we have to keep working it. I love what the word says in Galatians. Don't grow weary in doing good, for in due time you will reap when you faint not. So when you're doing and going and instituting these things, don't get weary that you're creating a brand new thing, and that takes time.
Yeah. Amen. Well, we're out of time. Next episode, we're going to talk about The War is On.
All right.
So it's going to be really great. Thanks for tuning in to Family by Design. We're so thankful you took this time to listen and participate with Liz and I as we discuss these very important things concerning marriage and family. If you're blessed by this ministry, in particular this podcast, we'd love it if you would leave a review. It'll absolutely help boost our ratings and help other people to be able to find this podcast to bless them as well. We want to give a special thanks to our partners. Those of you that partner with Ward Ministries, you make this possible. If you'd like more information about partnership, you'd like to become a partner with us, you can go to wardmen.org and find all the information there, as well as other resources. So we bless you in the name of the Lord. Thanks for tuning in.